have one trig ratio and you're trying to find another, you need to start by just looking for clues. You'll get plenty. Now, the first clue that we've got in this question, cos of theta equals negative 5/13. Well, this negative is my first clue. So straight away I'm thinking cos, now when you get your clues, write down what you're thinking, okay? It helps a lot. Cos theta is negative. I've noticed that, okay? So I'm writing it down. Now I know when it's negative. It's negative in the second and the third quadrant, okay? So that's the first clue I've got just from that. Now I've got another clue over here. Tan theta is greater than 0. So greater than 0, that just means it's positive, right? So if I know that tan theta is positive, where does that happen? Well, that happens in the first and the third quadrants. So if cos of theta is negative and tan of theta is positive, where's that going to happen? It must be in the third quadrant. Okay. Now it doesn't matter how you set that out. You might just want to write it's in the third quadrant and think this through. Okay, but jotting down some notes, you can write it as quick as think it, and as soon as you're looking at it, it's really obvious where this angle lies. It's in the third quadrant. So we've got a job here. We've got to find the related angle, that is the acute angle that's a lot like it, and then we've got to consider whether sine theta, now theta is obviously in that third quadrant, we've got to think about whether sine is going to be positive or negative there. Now you could do that now if you like. Is sine positive or negative in the third quadrant? Think about all stations 2 central. Down here, the only thing positive is tan, okay, or cot. Sine is not going to be positive. So, if you'd like, you could write down sine theta is negative. Just jot that down so you're thinking. All right, the next clue we have is that cos of theta is negative 5/13. Now, we've used this negative clue here. We've already thought about that. What we want to look at now is the numbers. So draw yourself up a little right angle triangle. Doesn't have to be to scale. Takes 2 seconds to do a rough one. Put theta in one of the corners and then say if cos of theta is 5/13. Now don't worry about minus 5/13 because we're finding the acute angle right now. Everything's positive when the angles are acute. So if cos of theta is 5/13, we've got a right angle triangle that looks like that. How do we find this side? We're not allowed to use a calculator. Pythagoras. Okay, so we go 5 squared plus, let's call this x squared equals 13 squared, and we go ahead and solve that. Now, I know that 5, 12, 13 is a really common Pythagorean triad, so I can jump straight to knowing that that must be 12. If you can't, though, go through this process of saying x squared is 169 minus 25, x squared is 144, so x must be 12. If you have to do all that, that's totally fine. It'll only take you a minute. So we know that this is 12. So our related angle, if we're trying to find sine of theta, it's going to be a lot like, well, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So I can say here sine theta equals, now I'm going to leave a little bit of room in case I need a negative there. 12/13 is my ratio because I have opposite over hypotenuse. But I need to remember what I've already thought through, which is that sine is negative when we're in the third quadrant, and we must be in the third quadrant because of these clues that we were given. So sine of theta, that's an acute angle, is 12/13. But the sine of our theta, the one that we've got to find, it's going to be negative because we're in the third quadrant. Okay, so thinking that through and putting that little negative sign in there is the last thing you need to do. And if you've done a bunch of working and it all seems a little bit messy, put a box around your answer so it's really clear before you then go on to the next question.